Welcome to the Broncos podcast with Troy Renck. I am your host, Troy Renck from the Denver Post. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your week. It is that time of year in Colorado where if you play baseball in the spring, it is frustrating. Got winds about 50, 60 miles per hour. If you're living in the southeast, that area down by Monument and UCCS, you're getting snow and crazy weather. And Longmont yesterday, I was walking Bentley, the Bulldog, and about blew away. Thankfully, he anchors me down. So no issues there. But it is an exciting time in the NFL schedule because we're coming back from the Combine. I'm going to give you some thoughts on the Combine and some more content from that, including a question to Tez Johnson regarding Bo Nix that I asked him. Tez was considered a brother to Bo Nix and his family, taken in when he was in high school. Asked him about Bo Nix, his season, and also a guy who's been a target of the Broncos for the seemingly since the season ended, Colston Loveland, the tight end from Michigan. He showed up at his presser in a sling, not trying to hide anything, had an AC joint issue in his right shoulder, had that repaired. Believes he will be ready for OTAs to participate and, conditioning drills and all that, and cleared for contact for training camp. So we'll get into some of that and also briefly into some free agent targets, because beginning on Monday, that is when the legal tampering period for free agency opens. And yes, it's oxymoronic. It's sour cream. It brings back that line, I think it was Stephen Wright talked about in Vegas, where you have these weird lines, and Stephen Wright said, you know what, I don't like going to Vegas. How do they know what I think an odd number is? Legal tampering. It starts on Monday. It goes for those 2 days, but you cannot officially sign a contract until March 12th on Wednesday. I believe it's 10 a.m. Colorado time. So sometimes you see guys flip, because at that point, prior to that, it's a verbal agreement, almost like recruiting, with way more money involved. But the Broncos, I do expect them to land a couple more players next Monday, Tuesday, as they look to take that next step up. They look to couple that free agent, some selective aggression with a good draft. So if you're going to unseat the Chiefs, if you're going to get better than the Chargers, if you're going to compete with the Ravens and the Bills and even the Bengals as they bounce back, you got to be in position to get better. And, in talking to Sean Payton last week, they know how important this offseason is in their progression. What they did last year was remarkable from an external point of view. It wasn't as remarkable to them. They believed in those expectations, but to continue to climb, they got to have a good offseason. Going to have to make some tough decisions. Going to have to make some right decisions. Is that one of those decisions? Loveland, the kid from Michigan, is he one of those decisions? Or do they address that in the draft? How do they address the deficiencies on offense? Is it Colston Loveland? Is it Ashton Genty falling all the way to 20? Do they address some of these in free agency? And I don't want to go too deep into free agency, because on Thursday I want to do a free agent primer leading into the weekend. So that way it's a little more timely. But I want to get some leftovers from the NFL Combine, give you a feel for what I saw there, what I heard about the Broncos. Again, a short interview with Tez Johnson regarding Bo Nix. And we hear at length from Michigan tight end Colston Loveland, who could very well be a target of the Broncos. We're going to get to all of that after the break. Have you been injured in a car wreck or hurt at work? What are you waiting for? Give my friends at Hoggett Injury Law a call. Their motto with us, it's personal. I've known Darby Hoggett forever. Listen, I was just talking to Brandon Apodaca, who I used to coach the Fort Collins Gators with. I just saw him here in Longmont while he was watching his daughter play softball. We coached Darby's son, Jet, on the Gators. Such great memories, and it brought up just a lot of smiles, if you will. And so, listen, I became good friends with Darby, coaching his son, and us traveling the country watching our boys play baseball. Many of Darby's clients become his good friend. You don't even have to pay Darby up front. That's how this works. If your case goes as he hopes and had planned, Darby will be the one writing checks to you. So if you've been hurt in a car wreck or injured at work, call Darby. His team is at 1-833-HOGG ATT. That's 1-833-HOGGET, or visit the website at hoggettlaw.com. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college hoops to the NHL and UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline. The game starts here. Welcome back to the Broncos Pod with Troy Renck. I am your host, Troy Renck from the Denver Post. If you want to catch up on some of the stuff I wrote at the Combine, you can find it at denverpost.com/sports. Those who subscribe and follow and support me, I really do appreciate it. We get measured in metrics and everything that's read, from page views and how long you stay on the page and how many people read. So it is appreciated. Those of you who are loyal subscribers and have followed my journey from the Post to Denver 7 and back to the Post, it is much appreciated. Early in the week, I wrote from the pressers for George Payton and Sean Payton. And some of that was discussed on the previous pod last midweek with kind of summarizing the Broncos' priorities and needs. Must, needs, wants. Must are clearly tight end and running back, but maybe not completely just there. And we heard from George Payton talking about trying to want to keep Cortland Sutton to a contract extension. I do think something gets done there. DJ Jones, I don't know. As a free agent, I'm not sure what happens because he's earned the right to make a lot of money. I don't know about $10 million, but because of his age, but he's earned the right to make a good chunk. And what is a comfortable number for him to come back to? Even though he wants to come back, what is that comfortable number for him to come back? And then later in the week, which was not on last week's pod, I had a chance to talk with Travis Hunter, his presser. That was the most well-attended presser of the NFL Combine, about 30 deep, it felt like, talking to Hunter. And I wrote about this, like baseball has Shohei Ohtani. Feels like football is going to have no way Ohtani. Former players, most executives, and the industry folks I spoke to at the Combine, I was there for 5 days, don't believe he'll be able to play two ways. And I'm not going to say they're wrong. I just would be very disappointed if they don't give him the opportunity, especially if he goes to, a lot of those teams at the top of the draft are a buzzkill. But when you look at if he goes to Cleveland, if he goes to Tennessee, if he goes to Jacksonville, why wouldn't you at least give him the opportunity? Why wouldn't you at least give him the chance to try to do it? I mean, the guy was playing, roughly 135 snaps a game in college. College is not the NFL. We all understand that. But is there a way for him, like Pat Surtain last year played 972 snaps. Is there a way for him to play 950 snaps defensively and 400 offensively? I think that's the way this could work, is he's your starting cornerback and you have multiple packages for him on offense. And remember, when you say, well, just bring him in, Deion used to do this. Deion would come in like once in a blue moon and they'd throw deep to him. If Travis is going to be a legitimate offensive two-way player, he's going to have to play like 15, 20 snaps. And you say that's impossible. It's really not. That's what Marvin Mims did early last year for the Broncos. But you have to play 15 to 20 or it's just a tell every time you're in the game. In the NFL, it doesn't work. You can't have him play 5 snaps offensively. So every time he comes in, unless you're going to use him as a decoy, if you come in and you're going to target him, that's not going to work. Hello, they're going to double him, and he's not that type of player. You need some element of surprise. So I do believe you should, in OTAs and in training camp, see what it looks like. See what his conditioning looks like against bigger, more physical players. See how he's holding up. If he's struggling at corner and you realize, like, you know what, the last thing we need is to double up here, then you focus him and you go to him and have that honest conversation. But if he's dominating a corner, he's assimilating quickly, then you say, okay, let's add offensive packages. But the only way this works, and we're going to get onto the Broncos here quickly, is if the head coach is completely in support of it, because he's the one who's going to have to tell the assistants to back off, that the kid's going to have to miss some meetings once in a while for both offense and defense if they're going to do this. So I hope he's given the opportunity. Shedeur Sanders talked later in the week. I thought Shedur's press conference was impressive. Some people say it was cocky. I really didn't take that. I thought he was assertive. He was confident. He was saying, hey, if you want to change the culture, I'm your guy. If you don't, then don't draft me. I've done it at Jackson State. I've done it at Colorado. I do think he's underestimating what it would be like to change the culture in someplace like Cleveland, someplace like Tennessee. I mean, places that lack a lot of tradition. It's not as easy in the NFL. But I love his confidence. He's grown up in the spotlight. I wrote a column about him. I believe that for go in the top 10, and I believe NFL GM value his athleticism because he's not. I know before you get your horn up and scream Miss Peggy's name, and he's not great athletically. He's got average arm strength in the NFL. College football is not the NFL, folks. Trust me on this. Having done and covered the NFL for the better part of 15 years consecutively, and starting back in 1993, NFL and college are not the same. They're similar, not the same. Shedeur Sanders' best traits are his accuracy, his poise, his toughness, all things you can work with. But he's not mobile. He doesn't run. He's not super athletic. So he needs to get in a system that works with him. Timing, on time, on target. Can he play in the NFL? Absolutely. But the belief there at the combine was Cam Ward's clearly favored over him because of the upside. And some people believe the Giants will trade up to get Cam Ward. Some people believe the Titans might just stay put and take Cam Ward. But based on being at the combine for 5 days, the pecking order is clearly Cam Ward, some distance, then Shedeur Sanders, and around him is kind of Jackson Dart. Not as far away from Shedeur as I thought he would be, but he would be the third on that list right now. But Shadeur's he's going to make some team happy because of his brain, because of the way he processes, but he needs to get in a situation where there's some patience. They're not expected to win yesterday. Give him some time to develop. And I know it's going to sound crazy, but the New York Jets could offer that with Aaron Glenn, Darren Fuji, the former Broncos assistant GM. He's the guy that they're going to be a little risk averse, willing to build, and they bring in the former coach from the Lions to be the OC. And that's one of the comps I see with Shedeur is both Geno Smith, but Jared Goff. He doesn't have Jared Goff's arm, but I see a lot of Jared Goff in Shedeur Sanders. And so you just got a coach from Detroit who coached him. So the New York Jets are the one fit I see that could really work for, and it's in the spotlight, but he can handle all that. I really believe he can handle that. It's that if they have a clear plan and they're building, and this year is a rebuilding year for the Jets, and you give him time and you give him a chance to fit instead of throwing him out week one and say, we got to win right now. That's why the Giants are a tough spot. If they don't win, the coach and the GM are getting fired. It's a tough spot. Anytime a rookie coach goes to a team where they're going to fire the coach. You saw it last year with Caleb Williams. So let's get to the Broncos. See how you say, Troy, can you burp out and then get to the Broncos? Yes, we will. But I know a lot of this audience follows CU, so I wanted to give you some insight into that and what I heard. So what were we hearing about the Broncos? The Broncos have made it very clear they're not hiding it from the media. They're not hiding it from anyone at the combine. Sean Payton wants improvement at running back, and he wants improvement at tight end. They believe their offensive line was better than the metrics last year. They believe, especially the metrics in the run game, that the blocking was decent, that the running backs' lack of vision, inability to break tackles was the problem. So when you talk to people about the Broncos, Omarion Hampton's name comes up a lot. The running back from North Carolina. He ran well at the combine. He's a bigger physical back with breakaway speed. He should be the second back off the board. Is he a first rounder? I mean, it's a little rich. There's no question about that. But at 20, he's moving up the board. Would he be the worst thing? He would not. But Omarion Hampton is a name that was being talked about regarding the Broncos at the combine as someone being linked to him. But tight end was more consistent. Everyone there says Tyler Warren is the tight end that's going to come off the board. I've seen him as early as the Jets at 7 mocked. I've seen him at 9 to the Saints. And I can't imagine that he would make it past 14 if the Colts haven't moved up because they're one of the few teams whose tight end play has been worse than the Broncos the last few years. And so I just can't see a scenario where they would let Tyler Warren get past 9. Past 14. I just don't see it. So I don't see a scenario where Tyler Warren would be available at 20. I see it. I can't imagine he gets past the Colts. So you get to 20, and that's where if the Broncos are going to go tight end, Colston Loveland comes firmly into play. Now, again, it could be running back there with Hampton. And I've seen a mock today, which is Tuesday, with I'm going to probably pronounce his name wrong, Nick Amanawore, the safety from South Carolina. I don't see him going safety there. I think if they don't go running back tight end, it'll be D-line. But it's definitely something to monitor. I still believe they're going to find what they need, a running back or tight end at 20. But if they don't, D-line safety would certainly be in play there. But when you look at the tight end who profiles, fits, who could fall there, it makes total sense that it's Colston Loveland. He's the guy who's been compared to me by Jake Butt as a guy who essentially is, if you divide tight ends into the modern group of Travis Kelce or Rob Gronkowski, he's more of a Travis Kelce type, the ability to sit in zones, instinctual. He runs slots like a slot. He runs routes like a slot receiver. He's very good in the middle of the field. They did not have huge numbers at Michigan. He was hurt at the end of last year, as we talked about with surgery, and you're going to hear that in his interview. But he's good in the red zone. He's good on third down. He had to block enough. Now, he's not a guy you're going to say, hey, go win in the run game. Can he win on the backside on run play and do some of that? Absolutely, he can. But we're not asking him to line up against Myles Garrett on the opposite side and go win there. That would be silly. But he is a guy that can create mismatches, and that's what the joker position is. It's about a hybrid player who can create mismatches, specifically coming out of the backfield or in the middle of the field. And Colston can do that, folks. I understand that the numbers might dissuade you, and you see that it's not big, but he's a guy I think could be a better pro than he was statistically in college. And Bo Nix needs this. Again, you want to tell me that they want to wait and they get a running back and you go for Terrence Ferguson from Oregon, the Littleton Heritage kid who played with Bo at Oregon? Okay. It's got to be a combination thereof, but you have to adjust running back and tight end. It doesn't have to be tight end at 20, but if Colston Loveland is sitting there at 20, it'd be very difficult for me if I'm the Broncos to not take him based on not only their, the musts that they have, but that he's profiles is a really good player. It's not a stretch. He's profile. This is a guy who's first rounder on everyone's board. You're not reaching here. You're not drafting for need as you were. You're drafting, you could argue, the best player available, especially left offensively if you think that a running back shouldn't go in the first round. So let's hear from Colston Loveland and turn your volume up if you're driving along. So you can hear some of the questions. Part of the problem with the combine, I can plug into the mole box so the sound is great from Loveland, but sometimes the questions are harder to hear because they don't pass a microphone around. But you can hear questions about his recovery from surgery, his life at Michigan, dealing with NIL. I asked him 3 or 4 questions about the fit with the Broncos, how he sees the transition to the pros, what makes him so good in terms of understanding zone defenses. This is the guy who grew up with relatives in rodeo. Twin brother Tracy does the publications for Pro Rodeo Media. And if you want to know what tough looks like, it's cowboys, especially bull riders and bareback riders. These guys are just the epitome of toughness. And he grew up around that. There's a toughness to this kid and an appreciation for what he's been given. He's made some real money in NIL, but you can see that it hasn't hampered his passion for football. He said, don't be, you want to be a don't worry guy, on time, doing your job, always doing the right things. And when I talked to Jake Butt about him, who watched a lot of his games as an analyst for the Big Ten Network, he said that this kid, was an early enrollee, always there doing extra stuff, always working hard. I think he's working out with Will Johnson, his teammate, too, as they prep for this draft. But this is a guy who profiles as the kind of player Sean Payton likes. Worker, smart, understands responsibility, accountability, culture guy from Jim Harbaugh. There's a lot of reasons to think it could fit. So let's hear from Colston Loveland, kind of his journey to the draft, dealing with this shoulder surgery, what he sees kind of his role in a transition to the pros. And tune up the volume a little bit if you can so you can hear the questions a little better. Let's hear from Colston right now, again, from his interview last week at the Combine.
Leader, Yeah, on and off the field, just doing the right things. It's doing good. Yeah, it feels great. Surgery went great. Got some X-rays. They look really good. Yeah, just taking it day by day. So from the 29th, after 3 months, I'm able to run around, catch balls, have the whole range, and then after 6 months, I can do contact. Yep. Yeah, I think it's just like, it's Michigan, just like the coaching staff and everything Michigan's about. They develop. I think they get the best out of every player, and I mean, you see that in the draft. Like, dudes are playing well, like Mikey, guys like that. Just translates well, and I think, yeah, just how hard we work at Michigan, and they prepare us for everything. Yeah, I have met with the Colts. It was a great meeting. I feel like, whatever I'm asked to do, I want to be able to do. Whether that's hand in line, if I'm out at one slot, whatever I got to do to help the team win, that's what I'm willing to do. Yeah, I have met with the Broncos. I would say, I'm one of the best route runners in this draft. I truly believe that. I think I got great hands. Obviously, I got a lot to work on throughout my whole game, but I feel like I'm pretty polished and just excited to keep getting better. We were just really chopping up film, talking ball, talking shop. Yeah, I feel like it was a good meeting. All the meetings have been great.
Have you met with the Rams, and how do you see yourself with Sean Payton?
Yeah, I have met with the Rams. Rams are just a survey. They don't bring any coaches to the draft. But yeah, I think like I said, anyone that drafts me, I think they're getting a great football player, and I'm just excited to help out any team I can and win games. Say that one more time. Do I wish I went to a college? No. I'm glad I picked Michigan. Michigan's done so much for me. The people there, the offense even. I've learned how to just become a complete tight end and play, in line, outside, and do the whole deal. So, I'm blessed in my time at Michigan. I think I learned a lot, and I wouldn't change a thing. What'd you say? Someone? I haven't met with the Chargers. I think it kind of makes sense because they kind of know a lot about me already. But I have seen Coach, and it's always good to see him. He's a great guy. Say it one more time.
What do you think the keys are for Sherrone Moore to have more success in year two?
Yeah, I mean, I think he did a dang good job. He just, first-year coach, it's tough. Got a new offense kind of, but he did a good job, very player-led. I think if he just sticks with it, he's got a good blueprint, I believe. He's got some guys to, be really successful this year. So, I mean, I think he's going to do a tremendous job this year. Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, I think pro-style offense. Use a lot of tight ends. It's a complex offense. We do a lot. So yeah, I think it's going to help me translate well for sure. No, sir, I have not. Yeah, I think it definitely is underrated. I've been doing it since freshman year, and obviously going to Michigan, they ask you to block, and you got to be able to block. I think I just don't do it. The past couple of years I just haven't done it as much, So sometimes I think that can kind of shy people's vision away from actually what I do in the run game. But yeah, like I said, I got to work on my whole game. I'm nowhere close to where I need to be, and I feel like there's a lot of improvement for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I just kind of always had feel, but just knowing the game, knowing the defense, reading the safeties, just knowing kind of what's going on, taking a bigger picture, processing. I feel like I do a good job of that, and that's just kind of just throughout the week, preparation, just kind of knowing. Yeah, I haven't met with the Jets yet. I actually think I meet with them today. But yeah, like I said, it would be great anywhere I play. It's just blessed to have the opportunity to be here right now, and it's all in God's plan. So whatever happens, will happen. You said what's the process of learning this past? Yeah, so the offense was really the same. We had the same offensive coaches, just kind of shuffled around a little bit. But the offense was really the same. Maybe some terminology changing, maybe a couple plays, but it was really the same. So it was kind of an easy transition. But like I said, we do a lot at Michigan, and we run a lot of plays, run plays, pass plays. So I think I'm ready to. It'll translate well to the new playbook, and just got to stay committed to it.
How would you say NIL transformed that Michigan while you were there?
Yeah, drastically for sure. It was like 1 year we weren't getting paid, and then 1 year we were all getting paid a good amount. And I think it's just a blessing that how NIL works. Obviously, it's getting paid at a young age and being able to just take care of whatever you need to take care of your family. But it doesn't take away from the love that I have for the game. And football is always the main thing. Farm life? Yeah, there's a lot. I feel like it's a lot. I just love being out there. Like every time I go home, just the land, it's just open. All my family, my cousins, everyone's out there. I even like going to watch and just kind of be with them while they practice for rodeo. Just working the shoot for them or just helping in any way I can. But it kind of just brings me back to home and makes me feel at home for sure. Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily liked them, but no, I think one just memory I have is just branding calves. One person would flank them, hold them on the head, one would hold the back legs, and we'd always do that every spring for my Uncle Jay. Wake up in the morning, go do that. Maybe could have missed a little bit of school for that. So that was always a good time. No, I haven't. Say that again, sorry. Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I don't know where I'm going to get drafted, obviously, and just blessed to be here. And wherever I end up is where I end up, and I'm gonna be happy about it. No, I won't. I won't be. Yeah, I have met with the Bengals, and I think as far as my game, I think, like I've been saying, overall I can improve my whole game. But I think in the run game, just being a little more consistent, and yards after catch, I think just slowing my tempo down, kind of seeing what's around me, and knowing I'm athletic enough to make a move and make someone miss. Yeah, I mean it's cool, but I'm not even there yet. I got a lot to prove, so it doesn't mean anything right now. Thank you. Yeah, I think just teaching us to become a man at a young age. You know what I'm saying? Handle the right business, be a don't worry guy, always be on time to things, like just the stuff you're there to do. You know what I'm saying? It's really not hard, and they just kind of put that in our brain, like everything you do off the field, be a Michigan man, be all about it, be a good person, be loving, caring, and I think that's I mean it's a blessing that I was able to experience that.
Were there conversations initially after the injury about potentially sitting out for letting it heal earlier, or what this made you decide to continue to play through the injury?
Yeah, no, I mean I feel like I wanted to be a part of the team and help the team win. And it hurt. I missed that one game after, and it hurt to miss that game for sure. But no, there was never a thought about sitting out. I was going to play through no matter what. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been rehabbing, conditioning, everything lower body, obviously, and working out my left arm. But no, I've been conditioning, doing on the bike. Obviously, can't run right now.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that, folks. Give you a little bit of a feel for who Colston Loveland is. Very impressive young man. Some of these guys you meet, and you're like, I don't know how that's going to work with Sean Payton. I walked away from my interview with him thinking he's definitely a Sean Payton type of player who gets it. Serious, understands responsibility, understands that, the NFL is a grown man's league, been around a lot of players who played in the league at Michigan and been coached by a guy in Harbaugh who coached him like an NFL player. So I see the fit. I mean, frankly, if they don't take him, I could see the Chargers taking him. That's not a reason you would take him to keep him from them, but would not shock me if he's on the board for the Chargers if they took him. But something to keep an eye on there as the Broncos, again, their tight end production last year was dreadful. Essentially, 20 receptions from their tight ends. I mean, Shannon Sharp had games, it felt like, during his Hall of Fame career better than the season's 3 tight ends put up for the Broncos last year with Troutman, Atkins, and Lucas Kroll. So come on. I mean, what are we doing here? You got to get a tight end. You got to get better. And what about receiver? I get a lot of questions about Tez Johnson, a hard right turn here. so we can finish the pod on that and a quick look ahead to free agency. But Tez Johnson is very mature. You can tell and understand why he and Bo Nix get along. Very mature about football, very intellectual about football. Tez Johnson's problem is he's tiny. He's 5'9" and some change. He weighed in right around 154 pounds. I don't know that there's an NFL player under 160. I mean, Marvin Mims, I think, checks in around 175, 180. Again, who knows what the real weight is, but the combine gives you a real weight because you have to weigh in. Montreal Washington would be the only comp in recent years as a guy, and Isaiah McKenzie 2 years before that in terms of that body type. You do not see many players that size. I'm rooting for him. I thought they might do go for a flyer on him at that size. The problem is, can you get him on the field? And as you all know, folks, in Broncos country, Sean Payton is a type when it comes to receivers, and they look like NBA players. 6'2", 6'3", 195 to 215. They all kind of look that way except Marvin Mims. And so the idea they'd have a second guy the size of Mims seems highly unlikely to me, especially because they don't need Tez Johnson as a returner. If you don't have Mims and Johnson's going to return and play receiver, you got something. I don't see the fit. But I did want you to listen to what Tez Johnson said about Bo Nix because – and I'll be writing about this later in the week for the Denver Post, but it's fascinating to me how many people were down on Nix entering the draft, basically deciding that after Auburn he was undraftable despite what he did at Oregon. Listen to what Tez Johnson, again, he's biased. He was taken in by the Nix family and treated like a brother of Bo Nix. Listen to what Tez Johnson had to say about Bo Nix at the combine.
Like we always say as our family, like, haters going to hate. I mean, Bo does what he does. A lot of people think in the beginning, oh, wow, this kid is not as great as everybody think he is. He's the best quarterback in the draft. That's why you picked him in the first round. And I'm glad that Sean Payton got him because he's the first one that took a chance on him. He's literally the best quarterback in the draft. I don't know what else to say about him. He's one of those guys that's going to win. He knows what he wants. He get in there for a year, and he knows exactly what he wants. So kudos to Bo, kudos to the Broncos, and just giving them a shot for sure. Seattle? No.
Appreciate Tez answering the question there about Bo. I do think that Bo Nix is going to get better. We haven't seen his ceiling, folks. We have not seen his ceiling. We're not even close because his greatest strength is his smarts, his intellectual ability, and you can get smarter. It's harder to get your arm stronger. You can bulk up a little bit. It's hard to get a lot faster, but you can get smarter. We've seen that with some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL as they become more comfortable in an offense in the second and third year in the scheme, as they understand what the defense is trying to do to them. And they put in the time, frankly, and they study, and they have an aptitude to learn. Just put in the time, as we all know from school, doesn't make you smarter. You have to know how to study. You have to know how to then apply it in practice. Just rote memorization doesn't work. How do you study? How do you make it stick? And how do you relate it to your teammates? Bo Nix, folks, is not reached this ceiling. I'm going to just tell you that right now. So be comfortable in that fact. And let's finish finally with a quick free agent vibes. Again, free agent period starts on Monday, the legal tampering period. I do expect the Broncos to be not wildly aggressive, but selectively aggressive. Inside linebacker is a position that's not strong in the draft. And so when you look at the way how Sean Payton and George Payton have done this, they look to the draft where they can address needs and where they need to fill in free agency. Inside linebacker is that position for me. Alex Singleton's coming off ACL surgery. He's 31, turns 32 during the season. He told me he's going to be strong. I heard that on a previous pod. But you can't be certain that's going to happen. You need a guy who can cover there. Nick Bolton is the name that comes up. I like him. I do not like him as much as Zach Bond. Zach Bond was an all-pro in his first year inside linebacker for the Eagles. He was a special teamer for Sean Payton with the Saints. He also played for Jim Leonard in Wisconsin. You're going to have familiarity with this guy going all the way back to when he was in high school to early in his college career. You're going to have known this guy for the better part of 8 years. You know what he's about. Can he fit your culture? Well, the fact he kept making Sean Payton's teams as a special teamer tells me that he can fit in. Vic Fangio told me at the Super Bowl that he watched 5 to 6 plays from him and realized he's not an outside backer, he's an inside backer. And Fangio has been doing this almost 5 decades. He was dead on. All Bond did was become All-Pro, finish 5th in Defensive Player of the Year voting, won by Pat Surtain. 151 tackles, interceptions, tackles for loss, a huge, and he was even better in the playoffs. If you put him on the inside, now you have an All-Pro and Pat Surtain on the outside. You've got one at the line in Zach Allen. You've got one on the edge with Nick Hill, and now you want to have one at backer, Zach Bond. That's how you unseat the Chiefs, folks, right there. And this idea, when you take Nick Bolton for the Chiefs, I like Nick Bolton. I do. He's not Zach Bond. He's not the guy that's a sideline-to-sideline guy. Nick Bolton's a nice player. Zach Bond, for me, is more of a home run hit because he can go sideline-to-sideline, something the Broncos have not had. Put your seatbelt on. Since 2015, 10 years ago, Danny Trevathan. So other positions to keep an eye on there. Maybe they go get a punter to compete with Riley Dixon. I do believe inside linebackers there. And Juwan Johnson, the guy for the Saints, if you get him cheap at tight end so you don't go into the draft so glaring you need a tight end, maybe you add him, the kid from the Saints. Everyone, they asked me about Taysom Hill. Based on what I was told at the Combine, Taysom Hill's recovered from ACL surgery. He likely wouldn't be available to play until December, late November, December. So I don't see it. It just, the Broncos are not going to sign him to not play. The following year, maybe he'd be available, or maybe late in the season you look to see if he's healthy and you try to add him if he's still a free agent. But I don't see them signing him to not play next year. So that would not be something I see happening. So let's just break it down here. Broncos in a good position. Coming off upper. Broncos have clear mess in the draft and in free agency. With linebacker in free agency, I think they're going to address running back and tight end in the draft. They have some very good possibilities. You heard from Colston Loveland. You heard from Tez Johnson about Bo Nix. And you look at the fact that the Broncos have a chance with 2 or 3 right moves here, folks, to really put themselves in position to unseat the Chiefs. Still a lot of work to do, but this is an important week. By this time next Wednesday, we should have a much better feel for the Broncos and whether they have kind of offseason that will give them a chance to compete with the Chiefs for an AFC West title. Folks, I cannot be more grateful for your support, Broncos country. I could not do this pod without my great friends, Mile High Sports, Big A, behind the screen, who does the producing, Nate Lundy, who makes this all possible. Of course, my A1 from day one, Darby Hoggett, and Bet Online, our new sponsor. Broncos country, I do this pod for you. Happiness that begins with me. Go out there and have a great day.